Right, let's talk about when to back roll paint. I know somebody had a question on that, and I'm going to talk to you guys about situations that you definitely need to back roll. New drywall should always have at least one coat back rolled, because what happens is it doesn't want to get down into those cracks, the paint doesn't, and it also soaks in faster than it and dries faster than you can apply it usually on a new drywall. So I always back roll at least the first coat of drywall. In fact, every one of them. And in fact, even on just smooth drywall or even on textured drywall, either way, I always back roll one coat. So another good idea is use a product called Prep Coat. Usually that's done by the drywaller, but if you're really trying to get like a enamel sealing to look even, like if you get blotchiness in your enamel, putting down a product called Prep Coat, it's basically like kind of like a drywall and mix with paint kind of. It's weird stuff. It's really chalky paint, so it's kind of like drywall mud and paint mixed together almost, I'm going to say. And what it does is it evens out the coat before you put on your first coat of primer, and that will help make the drywall look more even. And that should be applied with a roller. Some people think you need to back roll this type of stucco right here. There's very rare times when I will ever back roll this. Like if I'm taking it from a dark color to white, sometimes it just is too much work to get it behind the shadows, and then it's better to back roll it because it just doesn't look quite right. If you're going to a lighter color, if you're going to a darker color, you should be able to do this by cross spraying. In other words, your spray, let me get you guys back a little more. Your spray, you spray this direction, you don't go like this, you don't go like that, you don't go like this, you don't go like that. You spray straight at the wall, okay? And every time you trigger, you should be exactly straight at the wall. You spray this direction, and you spray this direction. That's called cross spraying. If you cross spray this type of stucco and you're going darker, you can almost always, in just about the whole house, in fact, I've done them where I get no misses if you do it right. If you're spraying the proper way, you should not need to back roll your stucco. So practice makes perfect. If you're having to back roll stucco and every time you spray something darker, you need to put down the pole, get rid of the pole gun. That's a problem. Do it by hand gun. Make sure your tip is this direction, not like this direction. Okay, you should be spraying with your spray gun this way, and your fan should be going this direction of your spray gun. I've only seen 2 people on this earth that paint this with their fan going this way, with their spray gun going that way, and one of them is on YouTube. And another guy that used to work for my friend, of course, his production was really poor, and he fired him. So if you're one of those guys, now's the time to change your technique. And if you're one of the guys who can't spray that kind of stucco and get it even and make it so you can't see the shadows, then you just need more practice. You just need more years. It takes time. You don't do it overnight. You're not going to learn this trade overnight. The average person takes them 6 or 7 years to really learn how to spray. That's normal. So if you think you're going to learn it in 6 months or a year, it's just not going to happen that easy. To really learn how to spray well, you have to learn how to spray straight at that wall and not do this and not do that and not go up and do this. It's spray straight at it where your fan is constantly exactly straight at the wall. That is the key thing to learn when you're spraying. Anytime I'm doing eaves and there's any peeling paint under the eaves, I always back roll it. If you're spraying this kind of, see this OSB wood, I didn't even back roll this. This is a shed, but I'm just saying that stuff is a good idea to back roll. Anything that's porous, has gaps in the wood, should be rolled. So if you're working on a house, it's got peeling wood, it's a really good idea to spray and back roll all the bad parts. I don't have any place where they have the old T111 siding. Maybe I do actually. So this isn't exactly T111, but similar to that. It's a rough sawn siding, rough sawn wood. It's never a bad idea to back roll it. Anything that's rough sawn wood, I always roll finish. So just because I want to fill in, see these little cracks here? You know, paint's not really supposed to be a filler, but it does kind of fill in something like that, and water can get in there, and if you can back roll it and stop it from happening, let me get you guys up a little closer. You can see the little cracks in there. If you spray it and back roll this, and you're using 100% acrylic paint, and it's not wet down, you don't have it watered down too much, it's actually a good way to kind of seal this up. It's always better if you can use a coat of primer on it. Primer does only a couple things. It does a good job of bridging stuff like this. It also does a good job of killing stains and creating adhesion. It does not help your paint cover easier, other than you're putting another coat of paint on there. If you get it tinted to the color of the wall, it will help a little bit that way, but it doesn't cover better than paint. That's a farce. Another thing to always remember is a lot of places want to sell you material, so they say a coat of primer covers better than paint. 2 coats of paint will cover better than a coat of primer, a coat of paint, just so you know. Keep that in mind. Paint is designed for covering. Primer is designed for adhering, killing stains, and bridging those things there. So if you have eaves that are peeling, sometimes a coat of primer over them will help bridge the gaps, and using a roller and back rolling those with primer sometimes is better than just using paint to do it. Just depends on the customer, the pricing, and the budget of the job. Not everybody's willing to pay for the highest quality and the highest job, so you have to read your customer when you do your estimate to find out what they're willing to pay for and what they want done. So, and let them know, hey, look, I could prime all these eaves, and it's going to cost you an extra whatever, $300, $400, $500. I don't know now with the price of paint, probably even more than that. And then they might say, well, you know what, and I could go through and use 100% acrylic. It's not going to be quite the same, but it is a good alternative. It'll be a good job and still last quite a long time. And let them decide. And then they realize that you're being honest with them, which is a lot of painters are not honest. So being honest with the customer is always good, and sometimes it costs you work. Sometimes you don't get the job because you're honest with them, and that's just the way it works. I've seen that a lot more lately than a lot of things. In fact, a lot of guys are going out today and they go out and give an estimate for labor price only, not giving people, the customer, the accurate price of the materials. They tell them the materials are going to cost like $300 or $400. They know the materials are going to cost them $1,200, and they get the job on bad pretenses and then start adding things like, oh yeah, by the way, that didn't cover your doors. We're doing the complete exterior, but that didn't cover your doors. I'm going to charge you a little extra for the garage door, a little bit extra for the back door, the front door. And those are things when you're a customer, to make sure that it's all included in the price. Make sure you get the paint in there too. It really does help to give you an accurate price of the job. Every house I do, all my trim gets rolled. I do not brush or spray finish rough sawn wood. I believe it needs to be filled in a little bit to keep, again, those cracks from coming back, the knots and things like that from water entering the wood through the knots. It's always a good idea to roll that stuff in the rough areas of the house. So you're trying to kind of bridge them in. If you use your paint nice and thick, usually it'll kind of do that. In fact, you'll find you'll get better coverage that way as well. So when you're spraying your fences, or some guys think you should always back brush or back. I always see the brushing as being what's used on a fence. And in all honesty, if you're really good at getting your spray pattern on there, you should be able to spray your fence and let the stains soak into the wood. I mean, I've even seen guys do it with a Hudson sprayer and get a decent job on some of these fences that they do. But some guys think you should back brush all your fences, and it really shouldn't matter. If you're good at spraying, you shouldn't need to back brush or back roll your fences. You should be able to just go through and spray. It's always best to spray the direction of the wood. So this is one of the only times I would use a pole gun and do my fence, is if it's a fence like this and I'm not worried about what's on the other side of it, okay, and I'm staining it. I would like to go and use a pole and go upward and go the direction of the wood, so that when you do see the flaws in it, they just look like part of the wood. If you're spraying it this direction and you happen to not lap evenly all the way down, you'll get streaks in it and you'll see that in your stain, and that's when you need to back brush. But you can eliminate that by spraying the direction of the grain of the wood. So if you go up and down on this, you'll find that to be much easier. It's a lot harder on your body to go up and down. That's why I can't understand why somebody would have their fan this direction when they're painting a wall, and that's just, I watched a guy do that. He was always, his back would be hurting by lunchtime. He was just a waste of money because he was going up and down all the time. Okay, you should be spraying most of the time across when you can. Okay, when you want to go up and down is when you're doing a fence like this and you're using stain. If you're using paint, it shouldn't matter. But if you're using stain and you're trying to just stain it and not have to back brush it, you go the direction of the grain. It'll help you get it on to where it looks better. Okay, so, and that's only like a semi-transparent stain, not a solid acrylic stain. I'm talking about semi-transparent. That's what we're talking about right now, oil stain. So some guys say water-based stain is better than oil. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say oil-based stain is always better than water-based. But there's times when you can't use a oil-based stain. Maybe it's in an area where the overspray will stick to cars. Then you're going to have to use a water-based stain. Maybe it's in an area in California where they don't have oil-based stains anymore. They've pretty much outlawed all oil-based products. So then you're going to have to use a water-based stain. So anyway, those are some of the things that you can roll, back brush, or things that you may want to back brush or back roll. Most of the time you should be able to spray without back rolling, except when you're doing drywall, cracked wood, stain, when you're not going the direction of the wood, and a few other things like that. So anyway, I hope that helps you make your decisions. And again, if you're one of the guys who needs to back roll stucco like this, you just need a little more time behind the spray gun, because you're doing one of these things. Either your gun is not straight at the wall, you're going like this a little bit, and you're going up and you're going up a little bit, and you're going down. So guys, I've seen guys do this. I call it sweeping, or whipping. They're doing that, and that's not how you spray. You always spray like this. Your gun fan should always be straight at the wall, and when you cross, it should be like this. If you watch my spray videos, you'll see I very rarely ever break. I'm straight at the wall all the time, and when I break, I'm going to be back there with a brush touching it up, because I'll miss a spot. You'll get the shadow of the top or the bottom of the stucco, and you won't get the whole stucco. So that's when you start needing to back roll. But you don't really need to back roll, you just learn how to spray better. So just more practice, help you get better at it. That's what these videos are about. This isn't, a glorified paint channel that just shows you, whatever, painting little stuff and, selling stuff or whatever that. This is about doing the job and doing it better and doing it right, and learning how to be faster and learn how to do your job better. So anyway, I'll talk to you in the next video. Hope that one helped you. Please like, share, and subscribe.